pulling Mac Jones from Monday night's game and denying that it had to do with productivity on the field, gameplay. It might have been the decision all along to play both quarterbacks. But when you pull Mac Jones after 3 series, so basically 25% of the game, and then you give Bailey Zappe the other 75%, it was not an equitable split. You weren't really playing 2 quarterbacks. You were playing one until he messed up. And he did. So it was performance-based. And to deny that flew in the face of logic and made it seem ridiculous. You know, all Bill had to say is, we need better production of that position. Mac will learn from this. That's it. And then you can move on with, yes, we went to Bailey Zappe because we need better production. Mac said all the right things after the game. But Bill sounds A, out of touch, B, silly when he denies that that was performance-based. So there's where you start losing credibility because you're not winning. Again, if the Patriots are 6-1 and he does this, he doesn't have to explain anything to anybody. But if you're 3+ years running of not winning a playoff game and you're now sub 500 and you've got a quarterback controversy, now you start losing credibility when you don't say things that are obvious. So that's where I think he made a mistake. Just there say, yes, that's a performance-based decision. We're trying to win the game. And at that point, I thought it was right to make a change. And that's all that has to be said. You don't even have to explain more than that. Where he's right here is going back to Mac Jones. Because a lesser coach, and here's where I'm going to defend Bill Belichick. A lesser coach stays with Bailey Zappe because Bailey Zappe is more popular. Right now, you saw that crowd on Monday night. I mean, as Mac Jones is going 3 and out, they're chanting for Bailey Zappe. The crowd is chanting for the backup quarterback as the starting quarterback at home is playing. Should be noted, Mac Jones went to the Pro Bowl last year. He's not Carson Wentz. He's not a total joke. Now, was that Pro Bowl nod deserved? We can debate that. But last year, the toast of the town. This year, they're chanting for his backup in the game. Zappe comes in. The crowd explodes. We played that clip on Tuesday morning, which was hysterical. Scott Zolak, who we love, is yelling that the crowd sounds like it's the AFC divisional round against the Ravens. Meantime, it's a Monday night against Matt Eberflus and the Bears. But the crowd was insane. You could see it. You could hear it. You could feel it on TV. The crowd was insane. So a lesser coach who's sub 500, who's scrambling right now because he hasn't won a playoff game in 4 years, and his owner has talked about how poor the drafting has been, and he's scrambling to figure out the quarterback situation. The easy answer here for Bill is to go with Bailey Zappe because Bailey has the public support. And I think he probably has some of the locker room support as well. Zappe and the Patriots played well at Lambeau, lost ultimately, but nearly won that game. They end up winning a couple of games in a row. And Zappe started to feel like he understood the offense, good play action, good touch on the ball. You know, you can maneuver around with him, and the crowd loves him. And when the crowd loves him, bending over backwards, hoping that he's in, and the din of the media in Boston, which is loud, is banging the drum for Bailey Zappe because he's the hot backup quarterback, the popular guy, the name. There's Zappe Hour. That's easy for players also to be like, yeah, you know what? This is good because you're getting asked all these questions about how fun it is. What do you see from Bailey? What's he do well? You know, all those things. So mentally, This is a harder screech to a halt for Bill to do, which is go to Mac Jones. Again, Bailey Zappe can lose a couple of games in a row and nobody's going to boo him yet. But he's doing the right thing because while the fans, the media, the observers on the outside would look at Bailey Zappe and go, you could have the next Tom Brady again, which, again, I like Buck, I like Aikman. It was one of their worst moments to invoke Tom Brady's name on Monday night when Zappe got in. They think they might. Could this be Tom Brady? No. I'll bet everything I got that we didn't see the greatest quarterback of all time on Monday night come in for Mac Jones and then get benched again. I'm going to bet solidly we are not watching the second greatest quarterback of all time with Bailey Zappe. The bit is Zappe is just Zappe. And Zappe now has film on him in the NFL. And it was fun when he first got in, and he's got a great name, and they won a couple of games against bad teams. But what Bill knows is once you have film, that magic runs out real quick. And Zappe is a wonderful story, got a fun name, but the reality is he's been bypassed a million times by a million different personnel people because he's not a great quarterback. He played 4 years at Houston Baptist. So nobody in the FBS wanted to give him a scholarship where he could play. Then he finally gets in. It's Western Kentucky. And he was great. But it's also a non-Power 5 school. So first, no FBS team wants to give him a scholarship. Then no Power 5 team wants to make him their starting quarterback after a transfer. Then he passes through 4 rounds of the NFL draft before anybody takes him before the Patriots do. Then he's the third-string quarterback coming into the season and only gets in there because both Mac Jones and Brian Hoyer are injured. The better player is Mac Jones. Now, Mac might not be a great quarterback. I don't think that he is. But the better player is Mac Jones, and so what you can't do is relent to public popularity here. If the Patriots are going to win anything significant this year, which is a playoff game, I mean, that's their limit. They might make the wild card, and then they might win a wild card game. It's with Mac Jones. It's not with Bailey Zappe. And what Bill needs to do is protect against this idea that you can throw anybody in there and the system will end up saving the day. Because ultimately, under center, that's not true. He can swap out corners all day long. He can swap out defensive linemen all day long. He can trade away offensive linemen. He can bring in no-name running backs. You cannot win anything in this NFL if you think a quarterback's just a quarterback. It'll never work anymore. It will never work. I just had Jeff Hostetler on the show, Sunday Morning Football last week. And his story is impossible to replicate today. It's not even today's NFL. Phil Simms brings them to 10-1. He gets injured. Haas has to come in the final month of the season. Does so and has a couple of great throws. Couple of big throws. Comes in for an injured Simms. Gets into the playoffs. And the mobility of Haas really did help the Giants win that Super Bowl. But, I mean, they could throw for 170 yards and win a playoff game. When Nick Foles came in for Carson Wentz in 2017, Nick Foles threw for 370 yards in the Super Bowl. He was the MVP. Haas wasn't the Super Bowl MVP. Otis Anderson was. In today's NFL, your backup quarterback can't come in and hand the football off 30 times. Your backup quarterback's got to be able to play like a starting quarterback and like a star quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Brad Johnson ain't happening anymore. Trent Dilfer's not happening anymore. It's not happening. Joe Flacco's only Joe Flacco. But for 4 days in January of 2013, Joe Flacco played like Joe Montana. Mac Jones, you're not winning a Super Bowl with. But Bailey Zappe, you're winning even less with. So you've got to figure out whether Mac is a long-term solution. Last year he looked like it. This year he hasn't. You've got to let him play through this. So starting Mac on Sunday against the Jets isn't a popular move. Nobody in New England wants to see him. They want to see Bailey Zappe. But it's actually the right move. Bill's doing the right thing.